And a good evening, everyone. Chris McDonald, Mac Files broadcast. We're always honored to have our dear friend out in the desert Southwest, Cory Daniel, back with us, the Phoenix Enigma. And Cory's got so much more hair than I do. Mine's grayer. But I've become a granddaddy. I'm going to probably be like Cory before this is over with, since I've seen Cory last. But it's good to see you, buddy. How you been, man?
I have been busy. Just busy. Trying to find the time to doing this right now. Just doing a lot of tours, a lot of people coming out. Both people interested in what I'm doing on personal tours, occultic tours of Phoenix, as well as a lot of Grand Canyon trips. You know, that's about 3 days a week going to the Grand Canyon.
You mentioned the Grand Canyon. When you go to the Grand Canyon, do you take the people? What does that involve? How many? Is it an all day tour, or do you do it half a day? Or how do you do those?
Yeah, so I'm contracting with a company right now. It's a high end, kind of a private custom tours. We pick them up in like a 2019 Denali. We got a Cadillac. We got a fully $180,000 Airstream. It's upper high end stuff, and it's just a custom private day all the way to the Grand Canyon. Get out, walk around down, along the South Rim, stories of the history and the botany and the Native Americans all along the way. Come across the Navajo Res on the way back.
Yeah.
I did an overnight trip last week, headed up to Page, and I just love Page, Arizona. That Navajo sandstone, it breaks down, it's like soft red rock under your feet, and there's the canyon country and the sculpted rock. That's where guides go to get away. We go into southern Utah when we need to get away from tourists.
That's funny. So, but I tell you, Cory, I've been to Arizona a couple of times. It's a beautiful state now. If people want to ever get some really deep history and so forth, I think Arizona's the place to go. I always chuckle. The first rest stop that you go into from Arizona after you leave New Mexico, there's a warning that they post that says, "Beware the rattlesnakes." I just love it that you walk into the bathroom. That's the only bathroom in America that's probably got that heading, beware the rattlesnakes while you're taking a break. So I just find that hilarious.
Skunks and rattlesnakes love outhouses and rest stops. They're the two of their favorite places. I don't know if you heard yesterday, day before, Joe Arpaio, our infamous sheriff, Joe Arpaio.
Yeah.
His wife got bit by a rattlesnake.
I did not
she's
know that.
old. Yeah, I guess she's in the hospital right now.
Oh, my goodness. I did not know that. No, my goodness. Wow. Well, we wish we could be.
If you have a garage, rattlesnakes come in under the garage, and if you don't have a snake strip on it. And, they'll get in there, and they just kind of get up against your water heater or wherever they can find warmth. They're cool, whatever. Because they're cold-blooded. They're thermoregulating. And they just love houses.
Unbelievable, man. Wow. Well, but it's always good to have you, and I'm looking forward to this chat. Everybody's always loved you when you came on before, and I know this won't be any different, and I'm glad to have you as well, and we're just honored to talk to you. Your website is a tremendous website. I encourage people to visit it, thephoenixenigma.com, but your latest video has to do with a very troubling incident that took place here a few weeks ago up in Christchurch, New Zealand, which was basically this guy went on a rampage, attacked 2 mosques, and the crazy thing about it, Cory, was what happened after. I mean, it was like the whole New Zealand country just went on lockdown. I mean, they started confiscating the guns, started wearing hijab day. I mean, man, this was the reaction to me was more mind-blowing than the attack itself, because I personally feel like the attack itself was contrived a little bit. I just think it may have been a setup, and that's just Chris. I mean, that's just Chris's antenna going up when stuff like this happens. But you did an interesting interview, not an interview, but a video on this, and I want you to just pick it up and tell us a little bit what you found, because you feel like there was a lot of occultism that went on in that attack.
Yeah, so this went off, and I'd heard about it, and I was shooting in New Zealand, and the next day I looked at it, and man, it was like, when I first heard about it, I thought, a guy went and just, killed a couple people. And then in the following 2 days, I realized this is a major event. This is ground shaking. This is, in all of the European nations, this was designed and picked on the day of the time, everything, just going through the ABCs of the ritualistic aspects of it. It was a ritualized event, without a doubt. I wrote an article where I put all of my work, and I like to show my work before, and you might have noticed this, but I'll write an article and then I will cut a video about it a couple days later. And the article is called "De-Occulting the New Zealand Christchurch Shooting, Numerology and Occulted Similitude." Just when the first, if anyone wants to go on there and check it out while we're talking about it, go to my website, thephoenixenigma.com, and get a picture of the AR-15. It's got,
I saw that.
Right off the top, you see all this ritualized, words about Hitler and number 14 and the fish and symbol. And that smacked right there of John Podesta with the fish and the 14 on his hands, right? Which goes back to the creation story of Set, Horus, Osiris, all that, where Osiris gets cut up into 14 pieces and Isis can't find his penis and it gets eaten by a fish. Well, the fish and the 14. John Podesta, an occultist, a pedophile, suspected, I must say, I guess, even though I've been convicted, but he's always around when this stuff goes down, Pizzagate.
Oh, and let me interrupt you there. A lot of people don't realize this, Cory. Maybe you or somebody, but Podesta was in Christ Church 2 days before this event, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's what makes it significant. If the gun just had the fish and the 14 on it, all right, whatever. But Podesta was there and did an interview with the prime minister talking about how great she was, and that's why it's significant. He is, without a doubt, he is deep state. And I know we use that term, we throw it around a lot. Everyone understands. It's like Illuminati. People get it. I don't think people understand that Podesta, Clinton, the Obamas, they belong to a sect or a society that is deeper. They have their own justice. They have their own systems of justice, what they do, finances. They're untouchable. I don't know how people like this are still walking around when we know everything that they've done in the past, especially him and Tony's house and all the pedophilic art all the way around. It's just sick. And here they are on the front stage negotiating, stuff with other countries. It's sick. But yeah, he was there. He was absolutely there. We'll get into it here. So we all know what happened there. I'm going to cover that. But Brenton Harrison's Tarrant was his name. Tarrant. I like to go through the name of these assailants first, and I just knew it was going to be a white male, right? It's going to be a white male.
Interesting, yeah.
But his name means Brenton, burnt or to burn or burnt land. And what else do you burn? You burn offerings, right? But to burn or burning or to burn. Harrison, son of Harry. Harry is Henry. Henry is the home ruler. He was a nationalist for the homeland. His middle name means son of home ruler. And Tarrant, or Tarrant, however you want to pronounce that, his last name means traveler or trespasser in regards to a river. It was a Celtic river name, possibly meaning trespasser. And because the river would come up over. But it stems from a lineage of names where people grew up and were named out of the Anglo-Saxon tribes of Britain, having lived in Dorset. Okay, and that's going to be important later on here. But the last name comes from Dorset, England. Okay, so tuck that in your head. And then I go straight into the numerology. I actually found a copy. Did I tell you I found a copy of the Manifesto?
No, you didn't. Tell us about that.
I did. It took about a week to get my hands on it, and you can get. I'm trying to figure out. I'm talking with my webmaster, trying to figure out if we can make this public without having some legal ramifications. If people want it, they can get in touch with me, and I have no problem sending it to them personally. Sure. But yeah, I see figure out how I can do that. Get it. Google Drive scrubbed it. If you upload it to Google Drive, they scrub it. So wow. You gotta, they're really got a lockdown on this. And about 2 days after I got it, or a day after I got it, there was the article popped up. And it wasn't asking a question. It was emphatically stating there is no code in the New Zealand Shooter Manifesto. I'm thinking, why are they telling people there's no code in there? Where people, no one's seen it. You can't get your damn hands on it. Yet they're telling everyone that there's no code in it. I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to go in there and look for some code. And I did. And I found a ton of stuff. Starting with the numerology here, the entire manifesto and everything according to this event centers around the numbers 7, 11, and 5.
Wow.
Okay. 5, 7, and 11. All very, and I'm seeing 5 show up more and more. In all of these shootings, in all of these government events. And it's turning out to be, and I can't put my finger on it yet, but it's a very warlike number. It's being used for a lot of violent stuff.
Yeah.
But Bren's name in the septenary cipher, which is the Jewish cipher, comes out to 5. And that is the primary number in this. So it happened on March 15th, 2019, which was the 74th day of the year. And it has 291 days remaining. So 9 plus 2 plus 1 of the remaining days comes out to 3. It goes down to 3, which is your right there on the date. It has the 3rd degree Master Mason signature stamp. We did this, right? 3 is right there in the date. It began at 1:40. And normally that seems like an arbitrary number, right? 1:40 in the afternoon, whatever. When you get into ritualistic construction, you use what's called planetary hours. And the way this works is if you take from the sun up to sun, and you take those exact times right there and divide them equally by 12, you come up with your planetary hours. That hour might not be 60 minutes. It might be 58 minutes, if it's the wintertime, or it might be 120 minutes, or, whatever it's going to be divided by 12 in there. If you're up in Alaska in the summertime, right, or with the wintertime, your planetary hours are going to be like minutes long, like 15 minutes, because you only have 5 hours of sunlight. So when you do that, the time 1:40 comes out to 1 minute past the 7th hour.
Gotcha. Wow.
And that's known as God's hour, the 7th hour, perfection.
Right.
On that day, Friday, when this was done, the planet subscribed to this specific hour is the sun. And right there, back to solar worship, right? The sun. It always goes back to the sun. They take that beautiful, beautiful sun, which gives us life, and they just twist it like the swastika, like all these symbols that, the swastika wasn't Nazi, right? Everyone, I think, should know that by now in 2019. It was a solar symbol. It was a Hermetic, beautiful solar symbol that Hitler turned around, reversed it, and made an evil symbol. The sun, I've always had a strong connection with the sun, living in the desert, being born here, working under it, trying to stay alive under it on multi-day hikes and backpacking trips. It saved my life a couple times, waking up freezing in the morning when I didn't have enough clothing, and I laid in the sun and warmed up. But they pervert it into solar worship, which is, you shouldn't be worshiping anything other than the Creator. But anyway, here we go. They did it at 7 o'clock, and it was the sun. They did it at 1:40, which was the 7th hour, which lined up with the sun, the beginning of the sun hour for that day.
Interesting.
Wow. Yeah, and 1 plus 4, 140 equals 5.
Exactly.
65 again right there, okay? The second half of the shooting began at 1:55, 15 minutes later, which is 3 times 5.
Exactly.
So you got the 3 again, Masonic, and the 5. And 1:55 reduces to 11. And we've been seeing 11. 11 has been everywhere. And I'm still nailing down 11. A lot of people think they know what it is. It's a very powerful number. It is the number for transgression, and it would be disobedience. That's what it symbolizes, because 10 is divine completeness and perfection, utilized in Judaism or Christian mysticism. It's God's number. But 11 is one past God, so it's disobedience and chaos. It's kind of what that symbolizes. So when you start seeing 11 in these shootings all over, that's what it means. It's they're being disobedient to the Creator. The day of the week, it was on Friday. And if your nation adopts the Monday being the first day of the week, Friday is the 5th day of the week. So you see 5, right? The moon phase. The event occurred 1 day into the first quarter of moon, exactly 7 days until the next full moon, and 10 days after the previous new moon. So you got 10 there again, and you got 7. Completeness in divine order is 7. So right there, and just the timing, the ritual mechanics of how this was structured screams to me ritual. You can go down, and if people think that I'm just picking and grabbing at this stuff, go down and find that Texas shooting that happened a couple years back, where that guy walked into the church down there and shot. You don't find these numbers.
No.
His name doesn't mean anything. The date, the time, it's all arbitrary. This should only make sense when it's been constructed and ritualized.
Exactly.
Okay?
Great point.
people need to understand, because I have a lot of people say to me, "Oh, well, you can find these numbers. You can just, if you look long enough." No, you can't. The number is a number, and what happened and the way it unfolded is what happened. So these are definitely worked in there. Where did it happen? It happened in Christ Church, meaning the house of Christ. All right, just like with the other shootings across our nation, especially with the Florida shooting we saw with the kids, right? Totally taking the beauty and gift of children and ripping that and just turning it upside down on its head. They use a lot of similitude with Christ as a figure. They just want to, make it black and pervert it. So they picked Christ Church. Christ Church is named for Christ Church, Oxford, by the Canterbury Association on March 27th, 1848. Okay, that's the date it was named. March 27th, 327, 1848 reduces to 33, which is the degrees in the Scottish Rite of Freemason. Okay, keep on going. This happened at Al-Noor, Alnoor Mosque and Linwood Mosque. Al-Noor and Linwood together. Go through the gematria. It equals 33.
Wow.
Okay. Note that Christ Church, Oxford, where this was named after, is in Dorset County, South Wales, England. The last name of the shooter, Tarrant, is derived directly from the name Dorset. The name of the town where this happened is the derivative of the name of the shooter.
Exactly.
And no one's put this together. I think I'm the only one out here who actually put that together.
Unreal. Say that again. So the shooter's name is
Tarrant.
Tarrant.
His last name is Tarrant. Tarrant. The name Tarrant is a derivative of Dorset.
Wow.
It's Celtic. Christ Church was named after Christ Church, Oxford, by the Canterbury Association, on a date ending in reducing down to 33, and the shooter's name is the derivative of the name where it was named, of the place where it was actually named after.
Yeah.
We call this Hermeticism. Just like with John McCain's funeral, how it all came together from left, right, up, down. It just fit perfect like it should, right?
Right.
This is a hermetically crafted ritual. And you don't see this many ties from this many angles sealing it all together. It's mind-blowing to me. Let's see what else we got here. So how many deaths did we have at this shooting? Do you remember total?
I can't remember. It was.
Let me put you on the spot there. But we had 50 deaths.
50 deaths, yeah.
And we had 50 wounded. 50 and 50. 5 and 5.
Unbelievable.
Okay. Comes out to 10. But 2 sets of 5. Here's where it starts getting into biblical similitude. And, whenever I see 5 and 5, that's the only one thing I think of are the 10 Commandments.
The 10 Commandments.
10 Commandments on 2 tablets, 5 and 5, right? And I believe they were drawing the similitudes and the energy from the Bible in Christ Church, the house of Christ. 50 dead and 50 wounded. Scratch the 0, you have 5 and 5. Right? And by the way, those of you who don't know how this works in numerology, just scratch zeros out. Whenever you see a 0, scratch it out, and you're left with those other numbers.
Got you.
0 is it's a placeholder that is exponentially has the ability to make things greater, times 10. But you see the similitude for the 10 Commandments. And what do the 10 Commandments give us? The laws. What is happening after the shooting event? Laws. More laws are being handed down. Just like with 9/11, right? We saw the Patriot Act. A whole new world opened up for us. And those of us our age, we see the world in 2 different time zones, pre 9/11 and post 9/11. The world changed post 9/11. Okay. This, I think, was meant to be a similar ritual.
Very likely.
And the laws are being handed down. 50 dead, 50 wounded, right there. The occultists, right there. The ritual, the Illuminati gave us their new similitude for their version of the dark commandments. And what happens 5 days later? They ban all automatic weapons.
I was going to say, they went after the guns, didn't they?
5 days later. Okay. These numbers mean something. And if they don't mean anything to you, okay, but they mean something to the Illuminati and these fucking devils that are utilizing this numeric vibrational energy. Exactly. All right. And those are important because they represent times and dates and systems with the planet. And whether you believe in astrology or not, I personally do. I think astrology is a science. I don't worship it. It's not a religion. It's a science. If you're born on a certain date, when the planets are a certain way, there's certain energetic vibrations that are coming into the world. When you split from your mother's water, from her womb, you're no longer in her energetic field. You're imprinted with these energies. And that's why all Sagittariuses, or a good chunk of them, 90% of them, will generally behave in a certain similar manner as opposed to Geminis, right? Everyone knows dating a Gemini is absolutely insane. I'm just making a joke, but my ex is a Gemini. So, but anyway, these dates and times and numbers represent physical energies that we interact with as living creatures having a physical experience. Okay, that's why. It's not woo-woo. It's not hocus pocus. It's not pie in the sky religion and Satanism. Satan has nothing to do with the science of the numbers itself. It is a measurement system, and I just want people to understand that. Okay, so we see the 50 dead, the 50 wounded, without a doubt a similitude for the 10 commandments. All right, the laws laid down to us by the messenger of God, and in this case, you had Tarrant, the messenger from Oxford, England, right, named after that. There were also 5 guns and 2 undetonated bombs. Remember?
Right, exactly.
5 and 2.
Yep.
5 and 2. Another similitude right there with the 10 Commandments. 2 sets of 5 and 2. You not only have it with the dead and the wounded, but you have it with weapons that were utilized to make the dead and the wounded. This is once again Hermetic. Absolutely Hermetic. And this is brilliant scripting from a ritualistic standpoint. This is absolutely brilliant. Not good, but brilliant.
And they got what they wanted, Cory. Let me interrupt you real quick, 1 second. They got what they wanted in this scripted event by the laws and the hijab day. In other words, not only was the laws changed, but look at the hijab, what that symbolized. Basically what the New Zealand Prime Minister, who had met with Tony Podesta or John Podesta 2 days before, basically that day was a symbolism that we're going to change this country from one of a republic democracy to a Sharia law-based country. I just saw that almost like a symbolic thing that we're standing in solidarity with Sharia law. Going back to your law. Yeah. Am I beginning to pick up on this too a little bit? That the law,
and I didn't come to that, but I believe you're spot on there. That makes total sense to me. I didn't really equate the Sharia law with the new law being laid down, but yeah, I mean, New Zealand and Australia, they're the canary in the tinfoil hat mine, man. Whatever you we'll call it the tinfoil canary. I should patent that. But whenever you see things enacted in those countries over there, they're coming here next. If they can get away with it, New Zealand, they're going to try Canada probably next, and then the U.S., right? We're the last holdout. But that Sharia law, I didn't put that together, Pastor. That's quite insightful. I think you're probably right there. I really do. All right. And I started thinking about 5. Why 5? 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. And when you just mentioned that, I think it ties in here. What are the 5 I wills? Remember in Isaiah?
Yes.
Yeah, the 5 I wills. I will ascend to in heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will be like the Most High. 5. And I think that is probably the definitive reason as to why 5 was chosen as the primary ground number in this here ritual. And I think those laws are the Sharia laws that you speak of. I think they want Islam. Islam is such a strong system of control where the sheep police themselves. I think that is probably the ultimate control mechanism. If they can usher in Sharia law, it's the end of freedom.
It is, Cory. Absolutely, buddy. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And that's what Satan wants. I mean, that's the 5 I wills of the man, that the greatest slavery driver in the history of the universe, because Satan makes slaves of people. That's what he does. I mean, the symbology here is beyond words. And I didn't mean to interrupt you. Maybe that was what I was interrupting you when you were getting ready to talk about the 5 I wills, but I just saw the Sharia law in my mind that when you were talking about how the commandments had to do with the law, that hijab day to me was symbolic. That hijab day, I just thought about that for a second. So what was the purpose of that, other than to bring the impression that we stand in solidarity with a group that wants to strip down every democratic reform in the world and make you submit to their way of government, their way of life, their way of whatever, and which would plunge you into the freaking dark ages, to be honest with you, and take you back to the freaking time where you need sunlight meld into you in a dungeon if you broke it. I mean, it's scary stuff, but you're right. What's happening there, Cory, is coming here if it's not addressed. I mean, I totally 1,000 agree with you there.
Yeah, this event wasn't just an isolated event in New Zealand. It was meant to thwart the momentum that Trump has been building on nationalism, yes, on independent country sovereignty, and on, God forbid, the white male not being ashamed of being white, being proud that you come from white European stock. And I can say that without any fear of sounding like a racist, because I'm not a racist, but they have worked us into a position where people are scared to death to say, yeah, white people are okay. Yeah, white people created the paradigm we're all living that has brought more comfort and safety and medicine and benefit to the human species than any other race has in the world, and white people did it. Yes, we did it, primarily by ourselves. White people formed the institutions which created the greatest country on earth, the United States of America. White people were responsible for those institutions which created it. Other people helped as well, but if it wasn't for white people, we wouldn't be in the position we are today in this world. I have no problem saying that because it's the absolute historical fact. They are trying to take white people down because nature abhors a vacuum and government abhors a vacuum. And when they take that power, those independent, free-thinking, spirited, clever, industrious people, races, cultures that are right in Christianity, which is a philosophy of personal power and personal truth and personal freedom, you got to take that down before you can replace it. And this whole shooting was about nothing more than thwarting the energy that Trump and Trump supporters have been created. I do a lot of tours, and I do tours from people from Australia and New Zealand, and I can tell you, Australia probably more so than New Zealand, but New Zealand's just as bad. They're kowtowed. They're beat down. They're scared to death to mention anything about how good white people are, or even calling any racial issue they will not touch. And they're apologetic for everything. And I found out why. If you make a personal statement on your YouTube channel or your Facebook channel in Australia or New Zealand, and it's in any way believed to be offensive, or if someone takes offense to it, even if it's not, you can be fired from your job.
Yeah.
Your career's gone. You're done. That's not freedom of speech.
No, it's
right?
not. No, it's not.
They say, well, you can say what you want, but you have to be willing to pay the consequences. Well, if the consequences are you're going to lose your house and your life and your wife and everything, and your kids are going to be homeless if you say it, you can't say it.
That's very true.
That's not freedom of speech at that point. Without they have been controlled. The system, the money. There's almost no cash there. They are what they're trying to make in this country: a silent people that are scared to death, that just go to their cubicles and perform their skilled number of muscular motions per hour to get their paycheck and to go home and suck down beer and go to the ball game and consume the crap on TV. That's what they want. That's their utopian dream. And this whole thing has to do with that. I think, to me, I would the people in New Zealand, Australia saw kind of a ray of hope out there, that America was like, hey, they're being Americans. They're, it's okay to be white. And I think they had to snuff that flame before it got out of control and started growing into brush fires. And I think this was in part to do that as well. Go ahead.
Do you think also too, Cory, because it was, and again, this guy turned out to be a fraud. I mean, the media painted him at first like a Christian, quote unquote, attacking a mosque. In other words, these attacks can't stand on Muslim mosque, well, they go burn a Christian church down. Nobody say a word about it. But do you think also that it was a way to get them that narrative that, again, that Muslims are being discriminated against by Christians across America? Trump's doing it because of the travel ban. Trump's doing this. We're trying to, haul up all these Muslims, and we're treating these Muslims so terribly bad. And, it happened to me. Another irony about this that I found was it also happened. I don't know exact dates and how many days, but it would be interesting to figure out when Omar's resolution went before Congress, that scam of a resolution, which was a complete joke, and how long this happened. I think it was almost designed to take that offensive off as well, because if I remember correctly, when that shooting took place, the media, they were under fire for protecting an anti-Semite here in America. And all of a sudden, they had a narrative that Christians hate Muslims. We told you that these people that are going after Omar are a bunch of bigots and racists. Look at that guy down there in New Zealand. He's shooting up this mosque. I guarantee you people in America do the same thing. That's just my take. And again, you're better at this than I am, but I just sense that may be another reason why they were doing this.
It was to create a chilling effect on the freedom of speech and white males. So no one can say anything about, in fact, I even heard that on the news when Omar had made that speech. Someone said, it was on mainstream news, oh, well, no one's dare going to speak out against Omar now, and not in the wake of the shooting, because they have the momentum of the sympathy for the Muslims on their side. And of course they're going to take that energy. And this here, guys, is magic. This is sorcery. This is how sorcery works. It's not some woo-woo thing that you light a candle and say some words and something forms in front of you. That's fiction. Right. Magic is when you create a situation like this. The shooting was the ritual. What took place afterwards is a continuation of this ritual. The chilling effect on speech, the passing of laws. Magic is defined as actions designed to create real change in the real world. Anything, and that's a very, very broad definition, but that's what it is. When a woman puts on perfume and high heels, that's magic. The high heels are to make herself appear more vulnerable and walking slowly and shaky to instigate a male's protective response system. At the same time, elevating up her buttocks, making her look more fertile and young. The perfume is to send off the scent that she's in heat. This is magic. Magic has been utilized when you and I don't know if you read the Apocrypha or not, but if you read the Book of Enoch, have you ever read that?
I've never read it. I want to get a copy. I've never read it, but I plan to.
It's free. Download it. It's cool. It talks about when the angels came down and gave this information to people, how to pound out metal, how to teach women how to paint their eyelids and stuff. And this is the information, the sorcery, the occultic knowledge, the hidden knowledge that was sequestered away in the religious sects, in the priesthoods of the Egyptians and of the Sumerians, of the Zoroastrians, handed down to the Jews, the Kabbalah, and into Freemasonry, okay? It's a science. Science is magic. Magic is science. Utilizing sympathetic, emotional reactions in order to pass legislation. That is the definition of sorcery. And that's where we're at. Let's keep going here. I got more on this if you want to hear it.
Let's go. I'm ready. We good. You good. Take off.
So we got he had a 5-step plan. I heard that the first 2 days, and then I never heard it again, right? The 5-step plan was listed on page 11 of his manifesto. 1, to train. 2, form a plan. 3, settle affairs. 4, write down my views. And 5, enact the attack. 5-step plan again, right? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 equals 15. On page 5 of the manifesto, he begins laying out the 15 reasons why he carried out the attack. 7 of these reasons are on page 5. The rest are on page 6. So you're seeing Hermetic numeric interactions within the manifesto. It's tying back numerologically to itself between the ideas and the reasons and the numerology. On page 11 of the manifesto, he answers 5 questions. For how long did you plan the attack? Why did you choose the time of the attack? Why did you choose to use firearms? Why did you choose New Zealand as the place to attack? Was there any reason you attacked those mosques in particular? 5 reasons or 5 questions answered on page 11. On page 5 of the manifesto, there are 7 I's under the Who Are You heading of the In General section. The number 7 is directly related to God. So where'd you see the 5 I ams, right? Or I will be's in Isaiah? On page 5 of the manifesto, there are 7 I's. So he pulled, if you read Genesis, in the book of Genesis, where's my Bible? Oh, it's in my backpack. I took it to work. There are, and God said, there were 10 of those.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. And here on page 5, there are 7 I's. So whoever put this manifesto together had deep occultic knowledge of numerology and biblical history and biblical scripture. Okay. That's it. It's obvious. As an occultist, I'm telling you, this screams of somebody who is trained in the occult, who put this thing and wrote this manifesto. Let's see. Coming after the 10, okay, so back to the number 11 for a moment. Coming after 10, the law and responsibility. The number 11 represents the opposite, which is irresponsibility or the breaking of law to bring about disorder and judgment. Number 11 is used to cause chaos and disorder. Breton's entire stated goal of this event, as written in the manifesto, was to bring chaos and judgment. That's the whole point of the manifesto, and the action is to bring chaos, right? He said, I am going to push the envelope forward. I'm going to do something that can't be taken back. I'm going to spark the retaliation from the Muslims, and it will force the white nationalists to get off their butts and begin fighting and killing. He wanted to start a war to bring disorder and judgment.
Yes.
That's the number 11, and that's the stated goal. Right? In Genesis 11, men rebelled against God and built the Tower of Babel.
Exactly. Right. Unreal.
He judged them by confusing their language, resulting in chaos. 74 plays a huge part. First and foremost, 7 plus 4 equals 11. Brenton wrote a 74-page manifesto. The day of the event occurred on March 15th and is the 74th day of the year. Sorry, March 15th is the 74th day of the year. 7-4. Do you know how Jews won't spell out God? They'll spell out G space
yes.
D.
Yes.
Okay. In the same cipher I always use, which is the septenary cipher, G is 7 and D is 4.
Unbelievable.
It spells God in the number of the date as well as the number of pages in the manifesto. So, am I saying the Jews did it? No, not necessarily. But it's got their word, the word that the way that they spell God right there in those 2 numbers. The word Selah is found 74 times as a notation of unknown meaning in the Bible. 71 times in the book of Psalms and 3 times in Habakkuk, right? And there's one more usage of the word, which is interesting. It's found in Kings 14:7, referring to a conquered town, which was later named Joktheel, of which the meaning is subdued of God, protection of God, advantage of God, or God's reward. I found it significant. The entire motivation of this event was brought about by the shooter's perceptions that his land was being conquered by Islam immigrants.
It is. The symbolism there is rich, man.
Yeah, it is
Unbelievable.
What do you? Why I got you? Kind of as a side note here. What do you think of the word Selah? Have you studied that as a pastor?
I haven't. No.
Okay.
It's a praise. It has connotations to praise. It's a type of worship. And when you see a lot of the Psalms, Cory, at the end, David ended a lot of the Psalms with that, Selah. And, I think a lot of scholars have felt like it was some kind of a form of a praise God, amen, sort of almost like our American amen. When we say amen, in a church, Selah was the Jewish form of that in the Psalms. That's my limited knowledge of that, but that's what I feel like it means.
Cool. All right. Let's see here. Continuing numbers here, the death count numbers, okay? Whereas 50 were killed and 50 were wounded, 42 people died, were shot and killed at the Al-Noor Mosque, 7 at the Linwood Islamic Mosque Center, and 1 died at the hospital. So number 42, I used to not pay it very much attention, but I'm finding more and more of these events encapsulating the number 42. It's one of those numbers that does not seem relevant until it's used. Its meaning in numerology and the occult is the duration of suffering. That's what 42 represents. Whenever that's in the Bible, it always centers around the duration of suffering, right? Biblically speaking, it represents the kinetic struggle between good and evil. And that's exactly from the shooter's perspective and this entire event, good being Christianity, evil being Islam. I'm going to say it. Islam's evil. It's an evil philosophy. It bears bad fruit of death and destruction. It's the kinetic good versus evil, right? Number 7 represents completeness and perfection, is always associated with God. The number 1 is the number of the Creator. So very powerful numbers in how many died and where they died.
So it's uncanny. It's uncanny how that was set. And again, Cory, let me just interject this thought real quick. I'm going to let you keep going. Don't lose your thought. All of this was a ritual planned to do destructive nature to the New Zealand society, and it accomplished its goal by doing all this stuff. It charted the course of that country because, again, 5 days later, the laws of the country were changed.
Oh, and I get it's still a chilling effect, right? The Maoris they're doing hakas, right?
Yeah.
Their tribal war dance to celebrate. Them idiots don't know that as soon as Islam comes in, they're going to be killed first, right? The gays will be killed first. Islam will destroy and kill everything that's not Islam. Everything. Exactly. You will not be free once Islam. And they're just on this whole socialist, communist acceptance. Can we all get along kind of a thing? We're more elevated than them. We're going to bring them into our society because we're an open, free people who respect freedom. Muslims do not respect freedom. They don't. They want to tear your freedom away, right? And this ritual, this spell was designed, just like you said, to chill the effect on anyone thinking in a nationalistic term. And everyone knows right now, you better shut your mouth in New Zealand because the Muslims are untouchable. And they're going to use this energy momentum to push forward any and all legislation they possibly can. So you're right. 42 here, 42 generations from Abraham to Christ in the Gospel of Matthew.
Exactly.
Right? The Gentiles trampled the holy city for 42 months, Revelation. 42 months where it was given to the beast to act and to blaspheme, Revelations 13:5. The famine of the time of Elijah lasted for 42 months, right? Little children mocked Elijah, the one cursed them, and the fierce animals come out of the forest, killing 42 of them. The Odes of Solomon are 42. The number 42 is found 13 times in the Bible. 13 degrees of the York Rite of Masonry. On the whole, 42 books of the Bible use the number 7. So, the 42nd page of the Manifesto is titled A Soldier's Fight. The similitude here with the fighting and consists of a short paragraph consisting of 10 sentences. The metaphysical energies of 10 on the 42nd page of the document lend themselves quite literally to suffering at the hands of divine order. This page has 110 words in it, the same number of floors of the World Trade Center in the towers. Not counting the 0, this reduces to 11.
Unreal.
Right?
Unreal.
So he writes here, a soldier's fight. The ideal of a heroic war without loss, without failure, without some great setback is idealistic and downright impossible. Even at Vienna in 1683, we Europeans still lost over 14,000 good men. That was during the triumphant victory. Do you believe you are better than these men or deserving of life, more skilled and courageous? You are not. If they could die, so can you. Expect death, expect trouble, struggle, expect loss that you will never forget. Do not expect to survive. The only thing you should expect, the true war, and to die the death of a true soldier. Expect a soldier's fight and a soldier's death. That's on page 42 of his manifesto. Okay? 42 is about, once again, it is about the duration of suffering. So you're seeing ritualistically, again, the numbers and the meaning of these numbers, what they've been used for thousands of years, are hermetic within this manifesto, within this event. This is not an arbitrary event, not by a damn sight. So
it was contrived, and what you're telling us, Cory, and which I always felt like it, but you've really given us the meat of what I was feeling. That, and I think a lot of people was feeling this. They just wouldn't. They were scared to say it. That it just seemed really strange. It stunk to high heaven when all this happened. There's a lot of things that's been stinking to high heaven lately. Buddy, I appreciate this. This is powerful stuff. We got about 10 minutes. And I'm going to have you back on if we can get you back on with our schedule and all soon. But, hey, do you have any insight? You mentioned the kids down in Florida. There's been a lot of suicides. There's been some weird patterns of suicides by some of those kids that survived Parkland. And I'm just curious, have you had any inkling? You may be looking at that right now. I don't know. But have you had any insight to that, or can you speak to that at all?
I've heard about that, but yesterday I heard as well, I got a Facebook notice from this group that I'm in saying that the Sandy Hook, the counselor was arrested for something, and then two of the father of one of the kids committed suicide, and then some other kids committed suicide.
Yes.
Which, I don't, how do you talk about Sandy Hook without violating someone's law or sensibility these days, right? They've done a really good job at chilling that talk. I don't believe Sandy Hook happened the way they said it happened. I'm not even sure if Adam Lanza is a real fucking person. I swear to God, I'm not. I've seen enough evidence. I'm just going to say it. If I sound like a kook or a conspiracy theorist or whatever, if you do think that it was a real event that went down how they said it, I urge you to do your research, because I've probably researched over 60 hours of my life into this event. The places, the times, the dates, all of it, right? That was a mass shooting ritual as well. Cody Snodgrass talked about this the other day. He did a really good interview a couple days back talking about Sandy Hook. He mentioned it as an op. Those of you who don't know, Cody Snodgrass has a book called Searching the Light. What is it? Searching for the Light, I think it's called. Something to the Light. And he was a CIA operative who was paid to. They tried to hire him to blow up the Alfred P. Murrah building. He was an operator. He said, "I ain't going to do it." And they tried to have him killed. He's at the end of his working career as an op. He has PTSD. He came out and he says, "Listen, the world needs to know what's going on here." And he specifically named Sandy Hook as an operation. It would make sense that these people in Florida, and the whole Florida thing was an operation too. I got a whole article. I've done videos about this Florida school shooting. The Margaret, what's the name of the Margaret Stoneman School?
Stoneman High School, yeah.
You know who she was? No, you know who she was? She was an environmentalist. You know what she was known for doing? Preventing the swamps from being drained.
Wow.
Go to Wikipedia, type in Margaret Stoneman, and right there, I swear to God, Pastor, the first line under her name on Wikipedia, she is most notably known for saving the swamps from being drained. Of course, this happens during Trump's presidency in Florida, not far from his hotel, 80 miles. The name of the kid has everything to do with children, with the patron saint of children. You have people saying there are multiple shooters in there. The whole thing was weird. It would make sense to me that months or a couple of years after this event, they're going to start going around and cleaning up the loose ends. People are going to come out, and I think they're just going to start whacking people left and right just to keep the facade and the secret going. You don't have to kill them all. Let's say you have 80 people involved in this theater, in this ritual, who know. You kill 2 or 3 of them, the rest are going to shut up, right?
That's true.
Especially if they're paid off. So
But I tell you what we're going to do. Next time we have you on, we're going to dedicate a show to that. How about that? And we're gonna visit Sandy Hook. I don't know if you know Zach Hubbard or not. Zach has caught a lot of flack for the same thing, Cory, saying basically what you just said. He mentioned Lanza, and what he mentioned was this. It was ironic to Zach. What Zach picked up was that it's rare that you put a killer's weight in a story. And the media was obsessed. If you put Adam Lanza 112 pounds and you just Google that, it's incredible the number of stories that led with the headline, Adam Lanza, who weighed 112 pounds at the day of his death or the day of the shooting. And it was just so freaky, creepy. And on January the 12th, Zach Hubbard's person, one of the people that Zach knew that had done an in-depth documentary on Sandy Hook, their entire YouTube channel was scrubbed. Their entire page was taken down. Everything. They had been sued. I mean, it was creepy that on January the 12th, 112, and then Adam Lanza, that 112 weight, and there's a lot of connections with that. I want you to come back because me and you were friends, and I trust you, and I trust your judgment. And look, I don't think you're a kook. I will make that statement publicly right now. This is not a kook. This is one of the smartest men I've ever talked to when it comes to this kind of thing. And Cory, I think you brought up something just now that a lot of people have not put together, that you don't have to kill everybody off, but you can send a message by killing 3 or 4, and I guarantee you the people around them are going to shut up. Let me ask you one quick question, and then I'm going to ask you one other thing. We'll wrap it up. I talked to a teacher down there probably about a month after the shooting. She finally came forward and talked to me. She liked me at first, and I liked her too. I thought she was a pretty good lady, but me and her we had a difference of opinion about David Hogg, and she deleted me off Facebook after that. I mean, she thought Hogg was her hero. And, I think Hogg was nothing but a plant. I think he was nothing but a punk kid that, had got in his head that he should use profanity-laced rants against the president and thought that would make him a big man. That's another issue. But the teacher down there was intriguing to me how she told me how that when all that started taking place at Parkland, they were not aware. There was 2 buildings. There was 2 high school buildings. And the people in the other building heard the shots going off, but they were not the way that the communication was going. They were not even aware there was a damn shooting till the thing had happened 15 minutes after the fact, almost, in the other building. And it was the craziest thing I'd ever heard in my life. I got to pull that interview back up. I may not be stating that totally correct, but that was sort of the attitude I was getting from her. Not in a bad way, but she was sort of sensing that she was in such shock when she walked out of her classroom, walked out into the open door to find out there had just been a shooting next door in the other building where all these kids got shot up. And there's just a lot of unanswered questions about Parkland. And then you throw in this sheriff, Israel, my God, who is nothing, his whole police force were nothing but a bunch of cowards and a bunch of scumbags that, wouldn't even go in there.
They were. See, you got to realize that don't go by their narrative. Don't go by their narrative.
Exactly.
Okay. If the media paints him as a coward and the whole thing, that's the cover up. Like right now, you got Rahm Emanuel up there in Chicago, right, saying we want the FBI to take over the investigation of the Smollett deal. Right? No, he's playing a part. Don't think for 1 minute he's backing his police. They're transferring this clusterfuck of an operation to smear the president, and I got a video that's going to come out today on this. They wanted a flashpoint for the momentum to go against white nationalists, white males, evil white Trump supporters, and that's what the Smollett thing was. Okay, they're trying to, now that it's backfired, they're trying to transfer it from the state to the federal government where they can control it. Just like with the 5 people over there in Taos, New Mexico, right? They had to have.
Yeah, that's right.
Remember? They had the liberal judges, the 2 Democrat judges. I forget I forget her name now. There were 2 of them. One of them Taos. Yes. Let them go. There's no evidence here. We have a dead child buried in a tunnel. We have all this, Islamic terrorism stuff. They have to have the sheriffs and the judges in the jurisdiction where they're pulling this shit off. They have to have them wrapped up. That's why this crap happens in Taos, right? New Mexico, extremely liberal judge, liberal sheriff. This is why it happened, the Vegas shooting. You had Sheriff Joseph Lombardo, who was an undersheriff for the Bundy debacle, where the federal came in and tried to go against all the Bundys, right? Well, Joseph Lombardo proved his mettle to them, and then Vegas is one of those unique areas. There's only 5 in the whole country where the sheriff's department and the police department are the same thing. So feds could pull off the whole entire operation right there in Vegas, and as long as the sheriff, who is the highest law enforcement authority in the jurisdiction where he resides, as long as they got him, they got complete run of everything. Okay? Florida shooting, same exact thing. Sandy Hook shooting, same exact thing. They have to have the local sheriff, and they got to have a local judge or two in their pocket. That's why this shit happens in Colorado, which is a bastion of Democrat socialism, right?
Yeah.
There's a storyline that permeates all of these shooting events. It's not hard to paint, it's not hard to see. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So, yeah.
I'll tell you what, let's do. We got to wrap this up because we've been going an hour and longer, but I want to do this next week. We'll get with you. I know you got a busy schedule, but we'll pick another day because I want to almost bring you back immediately. And we're going to try to get you on more often, but I do want this next show. I want to dedicate it to the Parkland, to the Sandy Hook, and I want you to deal with these connections, Cory. I'm looking forward to your. I almost asked you about Jesse. I knew you hadn't had time to really dissect that. I'm glad you brought him up because I want to get your take on that. We're going to do that next program.
I got a video today on that, so
good deal. Yeah. And the PhoenixEnigma.com is Cory's website. Look, and I also encourage you to do this, Cory. Single dad of 2 boys, and he's a great guy. Patreon.com. Find Cory on Patreon and support his work. He's doing this to help us understand the occultic ties of these crimes and the occultic beatdown. I call it a literally beatdown of the country, a takeover of the nation right now by these Illuminati and this Masonic. And I don't have, let me change that. There's not anybody other than Cory I turn to when I look to find out stuff like this because I trust him, and I hope you will too because he will bless your heart when you load his information. He may keep you up at night when you start reading this crap. When you start reading this stuff, you may not sleep for about 6 weeks, and you'll sleep with one eye open like this, making sure nobody's busting in your house to kill you. But
the website is huge. I had people I didn't realize how much stuff I got up there, but I got people saying, man, it's going to take a while to go through your website. And just so people know, I don't copy and paste crap. All right. I write my own stuff. I do my research. And you know where a lot of my stuff comes from? I got people, hey, did you notice this, and this? And I'm like, I didn't. Boom. Because I can't see everything. Right. But I'll tell you, this whole world of the occult and occultism it's like being a transmission mechanic for transmissions in cars. That's all they do. It's that complicated.
Yeah, it is complicated, Cory. It is.
It takes a full dedication to, like you say, get to the bottom of this stuff and decode it for people. And that's why it's called occult, because it is hidden. So,
well, yeah. I've got my page full of notes again today, so I'm going to have to go do some studying after this show. But, buddy, we appreciate it. We'll get together. I'll get with you after the show. We're going to have Cory back on next week. And another special, and we're going to dig deeper into these things about Sandy Hook. I've always been troubled about Sandy Hook, and as I do my newspaper, I saw the story you mentioned about the psychiatrist getting arrested. It raised a red flag, and then I started hearing about the suicides, and then the Parkland suicide started taking place here, and they've been really close in nature. They've been close like in days. One happened, and there's been a couple of them like days apart. So hold that fire till next week. Cory will get you back on and talk about that. We've been talking to the one and only Cory Daniel. I encourage you to support him on Patreon, the PhoenixEnigma.com, and pray for Cory out there in that desert Southwest. He's a great tour guide. One of these days, I'm going to surprise him and show up, and he's going to take me on a tour, and we're going to see the Grand Canyon. The last time I was there was about 18 years ago, first time I ever went, and looking forward to coming back. Buddy, I appreciate you coming on the Mac Files tonight. And we do appreciate what you've given us tonight on this New Zealand shoot, and I hope people will study it a little bit further and see this connection. It's incredible stuff. And as Cory said, if you'd like a copy of the Manifesto, we'll have contact me, and I'll give you his email. You're welcome to contact him, and he'll get it to us some way or other, and we'll connect you to that. I wouldn't mind having a copy of that myself.
going to try and figure out how I can do that. I got to talk to my webmaster and see if we can do that. Yeah, we're going to figure it out.
We will. God bless you out there. God bless your families, and God bless this great nation of America. Till next time, Chris McDonald on the Mac Files. Have a good night, everybody. Cory Daniel, thank you, buddy. Great stuff again, as always. God bless, friend.
I consider the tragedy of 9/11 to be a total failure by the U.S. government. Our elected officials must make it their #1 priority to keep America safe from terrorism and international criminal groups. Being switched on is a daily decision, a moment-by-moment choice, a constant awareness and mindset. It is a coat of armor that protects you from all types of threats in all aspects of life. We need to read the people in front of us, behind us, on the phone, and online. There could even be a time when being switched on could save your very life. Seek balance, keep faith, family first, walk and live with purpose, and remember, remain switched on.
Switched On, The Heart and Mind of a Special Agent is available now on Amazon or at switchedonlife.com.